My research focus is on microbial biogeochemistry. So what I'm interested in is the functional role of microorganisms in the ocean system in general. And so what I do, what's unique about my research is that I look at both the organisms and what they do. So naturally, I will need to look at use different type of approaches, including marine molecular biology techniques, imaging, to look at the organisms, and then in terms of what they do, I will need to do activity measurements, so including like stable isotope, radioisotopes work, incubation experiments, and modeling flux calculations and things like that. And what's also unique about my work in the department anyway, or in our academic unit, is that I'm probably one of the only person who study the tiny little microorganisms, because the rest of the researchers in this group is mostly looking at larger organisms. So all living things interact with environments, with the physical and chemical environments, for food, for resources, for shelters, and so and in return they also release waste products, and so they will modify the environments they are living in. So the study of biogeochemistry is basically bio represents biology or life, geo represents geosphere, so it's our Earth system, and chemistry naturally is the chemical compounds or elements. So that's why in the study of biogeochemistry is important if we want to know how life is on our planet, how life is interacting with the physical and chemical environment. So as the name biogeochemistry suggests, it's a very interdisciplinary theme in itself. So to study biology, we need the biological techniques, so such as physiological experiments, imaging, and molecular biology techniques to study them. But at the same time, for geo side, we need to look at the system scale, maybe some chemical and geochemical characterization of the environment, of the settings that the organisms are living in. And then we need the chemical analysis. So it can be just different type of measurements in terms of concentration or the transformations, so in terms of the activities. So in order to study this theme itself, we have to use interdisciplinary approach. And just to give you an idea also, the researchers working under the biogeochemistry theme are truly interdisciplinary as well. So apart from myself working in ocean and earth science, we also have researchers from biology, naturally, and also from geography to study the different types of interactions in different settings, so such as biogeography, or even how the whole ecosystems are represented differently in different settings and different geographical locations. So and we also have researchers from engineering, from archaeology to study the past and present changes in the social ecological systems and paleo-environmental records, and we also have researchers from even medicine, so to study the different physiological changes due to certain chemical compounds, so how the human body will respond to different environmental changes, such as for example, nitric oxide is a very important signaling chemical, like for redox signaling. And so how the human body responds to different oxidative stress is usually conveyed by this particular compound. And at the same time, nitric oxide is also used as a signaling compound in different organisms, in plants, in the animals, and even in microbes that I'm studying as well. So we have a wide spectrum of researchers in different academic units and different disciplines to study biogeochemistry. So what impact does biogeochemistry research on to our society is that our planet only have finite amount of resources, and the materials usually have to be recycled within our Earth systems. So, and as we all know, human activities in recent decades have imposed a lot of changes and pressures on our planet. So in the context of global environmental changes, so not just global warming that a lot of people might be thinking about, but the geochemical environment has also been changing quite a bit. So in terms of, for example, a reduction in oxygen content in seawater, ocean acidification because of the CO2 being absorbed into seawater, it makes seawater more acidic than before, and all these will have consequences on the biology and the ecosystem. So the study of biogeochemistry in that case is that we want to understand all the underlying connections and driving mechanisms of the interactions between the biology, the chemosphere, and the geosphere, so that we can predict, like, if we have more and more changes in the future in our Earth system, what it might bring to our ecosystems. And because nowadays we're relying a lot on our ecosystems services, like, so we need certain growth for food, we need plants, we need fisheries. So all these we cannot exactly control at the moment if we don't understand the underlying mechanisms and controlling factors for all these interactions. So if we want to know what the future holds for humanity, so for life on Earth, in our planet, so we first need to know, we first need to have a very accurate understanding of how the connections and mechanisms between all the different biosphere, chemosphere, and geosphere, so that we can then put it in predictive models in a more meaningful way in order to predict what future changes might bring, might affect all the different components of the planetary, or on our Earth systems and ecosystems.